Brandon, have you seen a decline in demand for under $5,000 cars? The answer is yes and no. So we had a very very weird September. We actually lost money. In my dealership, I've been in business for 13 years. I think there's been 2 months total, maybe a third, that we've ever lost money. This is over a 13-year span. So we don't lose money, and we lost money in September, and it was very interesting to me that okay, we had these cars and we sell cars that are $5,000 and under, but we were able to experience a month like that. And we go to October after that, and we actually had a really good October. And now we're in November, and we're turning out to be pretty strong November too. So I'm hoping September was just a blip. But what I'm hearing from a lot of other dealers now, a lot of the other dealers I talk to, they're not $5,000 and under, but they're that mid-tier range. So they're going to have a few cars that are under $5,000. They're all telling me that they're very slow. So what I think is really happening in the market is, yes, there are people that have less money. So the demand for this $5,000 car should go down a little bit because there's just less dollars out there to spend. Inflation, as we know what it is, there's just less money for people to be able to buy even transportation, even if they need it. But then you have the element of, okay, cars are so expensive right now, and it's so hard to go find a vehicle that's affordable, that we're inheriting more consumers is what it seems like to me. So I think really we're still trying to figure out, and I think tax time this next year is really going to be a big tell as far as how the demand for my range of car is, because you're going to add in some more dollars into the system when people get their tax refund checks. And by that time, I should have a lot of available inventory. So if we really hit it hard, like I'm expecting us to hit it, then I think, yeah, the demand for the $5,000 car is probably going to be up just because of what the market looks like right now. But the only thing that holds me back is September. And I can't explain it. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was an inventory issue on my car dealership's end, but that's the only thing that holds me back from saying that the demand for cars that are $5,000 and under are very strong. And I don't know if you heard everything I said there, Ray.
I did.
But yeah, but that would be the only thing that would hold me back, because I would assume that with the average used car price being over $500 right now, there would be an increased demand for the kind of cars that I sell.
I am curious. Two things I want to ask you about, if I can, quickly.
Yeah.
One, what is December normally like for you? And the reason I ask that question is, as you know, your specialty is $5,000 and under cars, and these are people that pay cash. Well, December is also a big holiday month, big gift giving month. Do you see a decline in sales in December because the cash that the people might have used for a car is going towards presents for others, or is December just like any other month for you?
No, December by far is our worst month. November, December, January are traditionally very, very bad for us. Now, this November has actually been pretty good. I mean, Saturday we sold is either 8 or 9 cars.
Wow.
We don't do that in November. That's like early summer, tax time-ish kind of looking day. And we sold, I mean, 8 cars, and that's very strong for us. So September was abnormally slow, and November has been abnormally good for us. So I'm interested to see what we're going to do in December. Going back to my little rant there, I'm almost wondering if we're inheriting more customers right now, because that mid-tier price point, that $5,000 to $10,000 customer, maybe more of those have to now buy a $3,500 car. Just because everything costs so much more now with, I mean, insurance, housing, groceries, everything like that. So I'm anticipating that December is going to be very slow, because it's typically the slowest month of the year. I hope it's not as slow as September, because I would like to not lose money in another month. But I'm we just factor in every year for December. Okay, it's going to be slow. We talked to our team. It's going to be slow. Maybe we can get that. Maybe we can get the back of the shop cleaned during December because there's going to be fewer customers for us to deal with. But that's the beauty of the show, right? You're going to be able to ask me at the end of next month, and I'm going to be able to tell you what's going on. All right, you might not know this, but this is a brand new channel, and you know what we need for you to do? We need you to subscribe, because if you're watching this, I can see the numbers. You're not subscribed, so just hit that button for us. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it really helps us out. Last weekend, my wife and I went to the auto show, and there was one in Charlotte, and I've never been to one. So it was actually a really cool experience. I know you guys went to Detroit last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what was interesting to me when I went to this auto show and saw all these automakers and all the vehicles that they brought, we're in November right now, right?
Yes.
I would think there would be almost nothing but 2025s at this auto show. It was hard for me to find a 2025. Most of everything that they had there was 2024. And I thought that was very interesting. And I don't know if it's because, okay, these dealerships, they have so much inventory that they just got to find a place to park it. And the auto show was a good place. Maybe they get a tax write-off. Or is it, do you think maybe that these brands, because they're dropping back some of their production, are they trying to, I know the auto show is to get people excited about product. Right. So are they trying to get people excited about product that they just currently have because they're having a hard time selling stuff? It didn't make any sense to me.
Well, typically auto shows have current model year stuff, and sometimes they might have a concept or two there. And the whole idea behind an auto show is to allow people the opportunity to spend a few bucks, wander around, sit in as many cars as they want, gasp at some of the prices they see, and just have an overall good time. Now, I am shocked that this is the first time you've ever been to an auto show. Me personally, I hate auto shows. And I'll tell you the reason why I hate them. Because there were so many times that I was involved in auto shows where the manufacturers would provide the vehicles and rent the space, but they expected the dealerships to supply the staff to work the auto show, and salespeople hated it because you're not selling any cars at the auto show. You're talking about the cars and you're making friends, but you're not selling anything. It's not like anybody's got a buyer's order at the auto show and says, "Hey, sign here and you can go home in your new car." And I just looked at it that I spent 12 hours a day in dealerships looking at cars all day long. And the last thing I wanted to do on any off time I might have is go to an auto show so that I could look at cars all day long. I did that every day. I didn't need to go to an auto show to do that. But I must admit, when I went to the Detroit show with Zach and the team last year, a year ago, September, it was actually fun. But maybe it's because I was out of the business by then.
Yeah, you were there just to see what you could see at that point, and it was fun. I mean, I was still there to get footage, so I still felt like this element of work about it too. But I didn't notice that there were any dealer reps there. Now there were a bunch of dealer vehicles. It was funny because in the Stellantis exhibit, I mean, this was in Charlotte, so this is around where I record anyway. But in the Stellantis dealership, they had a Grand Wagoneer that has made its appearance on my channel quite a few times because I've gone to that dealership, and that Grand Wagoneer has been there for a long time, and I always film it because it's $124,000.
Yes.
So it was just funny to see that Grand Wagoneer follow me to this auto show, even though I've been to that dealership many times, seeing it. And it seemed like there was an even mix too of what we vehicles that were from like Ford or Honda, Acura, whatever, and then some that were just being basically borrowed from dealerships there. Do you ever have to deal with that situation when you had when you were managing that you had to loan vehicles out for auto shows?
Yes, at the Baltimore Auto Show, we always had to lend them our minis, and what we got from Mini for doing that is Mini would re-invoice those vehicles to us at a $500 savings. Now, I can tell you that when you have, I don't know, 10,000 people climbing through your cars when they're sitting at an auto show and they're pulling on everything and tugging on everything, and I don't know, some of the stuff actually breaks, and then some things like disappear, like sometimes rooftop antennas that screw in, they're not there when you come to pick your cars up anymore, or cigarette lighters are missing, or whatever it is. There's so the $500 they give you for using your cars so that they can get climb through. I'm never going to say $500 isn't a lot of money. Did it help us sell a car or two? Yeah, we made a few extra bucks when we did, but it was just such a, am I allowed to say, it's just such a pain in the ass to, they tell you, well, you have to be there at a certain time, and then you get there at a certain time to drop off the cars. And it's like, okay, now all the people that you've taken from the dealership to drive the cars there, now they get to play the game of hurry up and wait. Okay. Because, well, we know we told you to be here at this time, but that doesn't mean you can actually bring the cars in yet. And then when the show ends, you have to remove the cars immediately. And there's no place for you to really, I'm frozen, damn it. There's no place for you to really,
There you go.
and that was quite the look. There's no place for you to really leave them. It's just such a giant pain in the ass. And, the theory was BMW and Mini, they would say, well, we're paying for the show. All you got to do is provide us the cars and staff. And it's like, well, why don't you pay my staff to be there? They're not making any money when they're there, and they're commissioned salespeople, for goodness sake. I remember in I think it was Phoenix when we had an auto show there when I was out in the Phoenix area. Jaguar used to, at least they would buy the sales staff that worked the show. They would buy them, anyone who worked, a brand new suit afterwards. So they gave them something, and they weren't cheap suits. So, and I was running an Acura store then, and, they gave you a hearty handshake and might have covered your parking. That was about it.
One thing that I thought was interesting, and I did a couple videos while I was there, and I whined about this quite a bit, as we know I can do, was I saw like there was a Colorado there, and it said big sign said starting at 29.5, so 29,500, and obviously the Colorado that they had there was not even close to that. It was like $65,000.
Of course, yeah.
But I was very curious about this because all these dealerships that I go to, I've been to quite a few Chevy dealerships, and I've never seen a Colorado even touch the low 30s. So starting at 29.5, I was like, is there one in the US that was even like this? So I used Car Edge. I pulled it up, and across the whole nation, the cheapest Colorado I was able to find was like $31,000. So it's very frustrating to go to a auto show where they want to drum up some attention, they want to drum up some excitement about these vehicles, and we know what's the biggest problem in the car market right now is price.
Yes.
So it doesn't make sense for them to say, yeah, this Colorado is awesome, and it's almost $70,000 when you get out the door. Yeah, that's not going to create an excitement. So what they do is they make this big sign say starting at 29.5. And really they might have made one of those, and it might have came out and went to a fleet customer a long time ago, but you're never going to be able to find that 29.5 Colorado on any dealership ever.
So if I hear what you're saying, I think what I hear you saying is when they have that big ass sign that says starting at 29.5 in real small letters below that, it should say good luck finding one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, it's manufacturers do that with everything. I mean, when you see like special lease deals advertised, they're typically on a vehicle that no dealer stocks because, well, the manufacturer doesn't build them like that. They're at an MSRP that nobody has the car. So it's all a game. And I loved when you were telling the story about that Grand Wagoneer following you to the show. And when you were talking about it, I'm thinking to myself, well, there's 124,000 reasons as to why it's been at the dealership as long as it has, and now it was able to travel to the auto show. And chances are next November you could be filming that same damn Grand Wagoneer again. Because I remember when we were in Detroit, I mean, we were looking at a Grand Wagon. It was like $118,000, and I'm thinking, man, who buys this stuff? I mean, who are they building this for? So the auto shows are great. They get to highlight their vehicles. They get to allow people to climb through them and get a sense of what they might like. And many of the manufacturers will offer a special auto show discount if you go in and buy a car. But when you consider the number of people that as a salesperson you're talking to when you're at an auto show, and it could be thousands, and eventually that might lead to 3 or 4 deals over the next 6 to 8 weeks. It really is not necessarily time well spent. And it's certainly not time well compensated. I can tell you that from having done them.
And one thing that was comical while I was there is that Toyota had this big, they had a very big exhibit. I don't know what you call it, but the big section with a lot of their vehicles, and they had a stage. And there were 2 people working the stage. And what was interesting is every hour they would have this show where they would give away. So they would do like a game show kind of thing to get people over to their exhibit. And I felt so bad. I went on a Thursday. So the show went Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I went Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
But I was there Thursday night, and like no one was there. So these 2 people still had to act like they were performing in front of 50,000 people. And they did it so well, but I felt so bad for them because the amount of people that were in their audience was not people plural. There was one person, and they were giving stuff away, and there was only one person there. So they had a group of 3 people, and 2 of them worked for Toyota, and one of them was their audience. So I walked away. I was walking around with my camera, and I was just like, well, I mean, so audience, like I can relate to these people because when I walk around, and I mean, you can relate to this too, because we're not really, I mean, there's people that are listening to us on the other side of this camera, but there's nobody else here. Like, we're performing for lots and lots of people. Call it performing, entertaining, informing, whatever you want to call it. But if you look at this and you take the internet out of it, it's like, I mean, we're crazy people, right? So I'm thinking about that. What's
the whole concept of what we do is, when you think about it, absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I are having a conversation. There are, I don't know how many people tuning in as we're having this conversation, but we would have the same conversation whether they tuned in or they didn't. It is just our private conversation, not necessarily playing to an audience. And then, we record this, and through the magic of editing, we chop these things up and they become separate videos that people then graciously click on to listen to us for whatever reason. I have no idea why. I mean, this whole thing is absurd. The fact that, when we had this conversation last week, you don't consider yourself a YouTuber. Okay, listen. When I was a kid, we didn't have YouTube. I never thought to myself, my goodness, when I grow up, I want to be a YouTuber. Now there are people of a certain age that's all they know. They want to grow up and they want to have a YouTube channel. Okay. I had no idea what that is. Even though you don't consider yourself a YouTuber, you are, because you appear on YouTube and millions of people watch what it is that you have filmed and listen and hang on your every word. Now, when you think about that, it's like, I don't know. When I think about it, I go, what the hell is wrong with these people? Why are they listening to me? Why are they listening to you? Bless your hearts that you do, folks. I mean, we appreciate it, but how did this become entertainment?
And well, I think all the time, like when I'm walking around these auctions, when I'm walking around at the auto show, and I've got this GoPro. So I film on a GoPro. You've seen a GoPro, you've used one before. They're like this big. So when I'm holding it, I'm like cupping it in my hand. There are people that are looking at me like I'm walking around talking to my hand, like I'm talking to a hand puppet. Yeah, so think about that from the other side. Like someone who doesn't know what a GoPro is, doesn't even see me talking to this little box,
Yes.
and they're watching me walk around and talk to myself in public. And it's like, okay, well, those two people at this Toyota show, they had a singular. I make this joke. Okay, they had one person in their audience. Audience seems like a plural kind of term. So what's the singular reference for an audience? Well, that's called a disorder, and that's what we have. So anyway, that's just it's humbling to think about that, of how crazy what we do is, because I mean it takes some nerve and some practice to walk around a public area and be talking in the same volume that I'm talking to you right now, but I'm not talking to anyone.
Well, the difference is that when I do it, I'm actually talking. I'm talking to my son.
Yeah.
You know, because when we do it, we literally are wandering, talking to each other, and he was holding the camera or his phone, whatever the hell it was. And I am sure people came up to you who knew you or knew of you. We never got stopped so much as we did when we were in Detroit. It was just insane, the number of people at the auto show that stopped us. I remember the day I flew in and I checked into the hotel and I wanted to go grab a bite to eat somewhere. And so I left the hotel and I'm not even a block away from the hotel. And we're crossing the street and a guy looks at me, he goes, "Ray, YouTube, right?" I go, "What the hell is this? I'm in the middle of Detroit. How come nobody knows me in Atlantic City, but I come to Detroit and all of a sudden everybody knows me?" It's quite staggering when you think about it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Usually I don't get people won't say Brandon. They'll look at me and they're like, You're the guy on YouTube, right? Yeah, that's me. Yeah. I'm also a car dealer, but you don't recognize me from that. Yeah.
Did you ever, when they say to you, "You're the guy from YouTube," do you ever look at them and go, "Which guy from YouTube?" It's not like there's not like a couple 100,000.
No, I get what they're saying though, but it's just like it's. I have this conversation a lot with my wife. It's like, I mean, it's like I'm not a person. Like they don't come up to me and say, "Yo, what's up, Brandon? How you doing?" Stuff like that. It's just different, and it's weird, and I don't like it most of the times. So a lot of times people are nice and they'll come up and they'll but it's a weird feeling, and I'm still not used to it yet.
So I'm thinking what I'm hearing is you never really expected to be a recognizable celebrity of any kind.
No,
And
celebrity is the wrong word. I didn't even.
But you are. Yeah. But you are, in the sense of how we view people that we see on TV or on videos. That makes you a celebrity. And I'm thinking, never envisioned yourself as such.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, me neither. I kind of like it though, because hell, I'm an old man, and people come up and talk to me. As long as they're not trying to scam me, I'm okay with it. If you want my keys, I'm not giving you my keys, but I'll give you the time of day.
Well, we have done the definition of what we promised from this channel, and we are so far away from the car market at this point that I don't think we could even get back to it if we were trying to loop it back around. All right, so you want to talk about Ford a little bit? Let's see if I can figure this out real quick.
Well, whatever. We could talk about this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can talk about this for a while.
Okay.
There we go.
Hey, if you liked what we talked about today, and I'm not sure why you would, but I'm hoping you did, we need you to not only like this video, but we need you to subscribe. I can't even say subscribe. We need you to subscribe as well.